Assalamu alaikum, people, and peace. Welcome back. Another broadcast. Black and Muslim in America. Man, it's been a nice week. Hope y'all week is going well. There's just a lot going on, man. I want to talk about, the whole Nike stuff, but before we get into that, we got to talk about this coronavirus going on right now around the globe. It started in China, and it just started popping off real slow at first, and then now it's just spreading like wildfire. And they got this whole city of Wuhan blocked off now, and they got more than 1,000 cases out there. The death toll in China has risen to 56 people have died from it, and they had to basically quarantine this whole city of Wuhan, and people are out there wilding. Since they're trying to block them off, people from leaving and people from coming in, people are out in the streets trying to burn down buildings. This is going crazy out here. And they say the coronavirus, it came from people eating some type of bat soup. That's what they're specifically saying, and that this bat that they've been eating from had carried all types of diseases. And if you think about it, in Islam, firstly, they were saying that it came from them being unclean, and how they keep their animals that they're eating, because they would go out to their marketplaces and they would be eating anything. They'd be eating cats, rats, dogs, porcupines, and then when they would be keeping them in the cages, it wouldn't be clean at all. The areas would be filthy. They wouldn't pick up waste. So they were saying at first that the diseases, the coronavirus, probably came from that. But then they specifically narrowed it down to that specific bat soup I was talking about. Now, in Islam, bats are you're not allowed to eat bats. Even in Judaism, you're not allowed to eat bat meat. So we wouldn't even have had that problem. They eat anything out there because there's so many of them, and it's not a lot of different types of food to go around. So they pretty much got to eat whatever they can. But some things you just can't be eating, man. And if you're going to be doing all of that, keep it clean. So now you got this virus spreading all around the world. And everybody is up in arms. They're out there in China building hospitals in 5 days now to hold all these new people who are getting this sickness. And to me, this is just a punishment from Allah. That is what it is. Of course, it has an origin that they're saying is from this bat soup. But I believe that this is a type of punishment coming from Allah because of what they're doing to the Muslims out there in China. Everybody has turned a blind eye to the oppression of those Muslims out there in China. And so Allah said, okay, now everyone's going to suffer. So now we see this disease spreading here to America. There's already been a few cases in California. I think there's been a couple other cases in other places. So now we see it spreading. And what's crazy is I'm wondering if they're going to use this as a type of biological warfare, because we know that China is going over into Africa and they're taking it over there. That means a lot of people are traveling back and forth from China. So I'm wondering, are they going to use this as a type of biological warfare and start bringing in sick Chinese people over to Africa and getting people mad sick over there as well? Because Africa already got diseases going over there as well too. So they're going to add to more biological warfare. So this is getting real dangerous. I expect to see some coronaviruses popping up in Africa very strong as well, coming up soon. That's what I expect to see. But yes, I think this is a punishment from Allah for what is being done to the Muslims out there in China. When you're gonna just oppress people, Allah will send His punishment in one way or another. He's gonna send His punishment upon you. And now the whole world has to suffer. And look how the whole world now is up in arms about it, and they're trying to make sure to get everything correct and keep everybody safe and healthy. But no one cared about the Muslims being massacred out there. It's the same thing like here in America. Allah, when you try to oppress people, Allah does not like oppression. So He's going to send His help in different types of ways. It's just like here in America, you have black people being oppressed by white supremacy. Even, white supremacy is a global epidemic as well. But you have black people being oppressed by white supremacy. And now what do you see? Allah sending His punishment. And they're inflicting it upon themselves. But this is Allah's punishment. They're out here being lost in the opioid epidemic, killing themselves in that way, making their numbers dwindle in that way. They're not having enough children, so they're killing their numbers in that way. They're becoming an extinct race. And this is by the will of Allah. This is a punishment upon them as well. Them being a part of the opioid epidemic is a punishment upon them as well. But look, it's the same way. It's the same way that they treat the Chinese Muslims. They treat us the same way. Because all of a sudden, nobody cares about the suffering of black people in the globe. Nobody cares. But as soon as all these white people start dropping like flies and they're caught up in the opioid epidemic and they're cracked out and methed out and opioided it out, now all of a sudden the whole world cares. We need to do something about it. This is an issue. But Allah always sends His help. Allah will punish those who oppress, and we have to see that. So now, it's just up to the people to make the right decisions and to keep empowering ourselves here in America. And, those Chinese Muslims out there will do what you need to do to handle your business. And it's a interesting hadith about this situation. In Al-Bukhari and Muslim, the Prophet said, if you hear that a plague or disease is in a land, do not go there. And if it breaks out in the land where you are, do not leave trying to flee from it. He also said in another hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, the plague is a calamity, talking about different types of epidemics. It is a calamity or punishment that was sent upon the children of Israel or upon those who came before you. If you hear of it in some land, do not go there. And if it breaks out in the land where you are, do not leave trying to flee from it. So there's two different hadiths about this that the Prophet spoke about. And this is what they're doing now in the city of Wuhan. They're trying to quarantine the people, but they don't want to be blocked off. So, if you're out there, man, make sure y'all washing y'all hands. You getting a cough, make sure you're taking your airborne. And make sure you're taking care of your health. But moving right along, I know y'all saw in the news Terry Crews, cornball, coonball, balls fondled boy. He is lame, dog. I'm reading this article in BuzzFeed. It's talking about actor Terry Crews is being criticized for praising America's Got Talent after former judge Gabrielle Union was dropped from the show for reportedly calling out its toxic work environment, which included sexism and racism allegations. And this, when black people call out racism, when black people call out, because sexism is just another wing of racism. Sexism is just another wing of white supremacy, because racism is white supremacy. So when you're talking about racism, you're talking about white supremacy. When you're talking about sexism, you're talking about white supremacy. So whenever you have somebody who calls out white supremacy, they always try to send in their coon boy to make what you said be null and void. So Gabrielle Union's calling out the racism and sexism within America's Got Talent. And then they send their boy out there, their good boy out there, because they know he's a good boy. You get your balls fondled by a Jewish man in front of your wife and you don't do a damn thing and you scared. They know you a good boy. They put you right out there on Front Street. Go handle it, nigger. We need this to be put under the rug. Quiet this down. So he goes on the Today Show and he's talking about some, I can't speak for sexism because I'm not a woman. The dude is a cornball. He's a simp cornball. Listen to this. Let me see if I can pull this up. This dude is a lame. Oh, it's not going to let me play the media. Here we go.
Of course, there are reports that her contract wasn't renewed because she reported a toxic atmosphere existed at the show. You're at the show. Is there a toxic atmosphere?
First of all, I can't speak for sexism because I'm not a woman, but I can't speak on behalf of any racism comments. That was never my experience on America's Got Talent. In fact, it was the most diverse place I have ever been in my 20 years of entertainment. The top 10 acts were Asian, women, older, younger, black, white. It was everything in the gamut. Now, I have to say this too. When you look at what the allegations are about, it was given by an unnamed source. My thing is, you know, it's funny because I believe you should listen to women. You should always believe women. So I asked my wife what I should do. And she was like, first of all, if it's coming from an unnamed source, because Gabrielle Union has not made any statement to this day about any of these allegations publicly. So
Have you spoken to her?
I have not. I have reached out, but I have not heard anything. And so my thing was, my wife said, well, if she hasn't made a statement, why would you? Yeah. And I said, you know what? I'm going to listen to her.
We should mention that NBC.
The dude is a cornball. You can't even make your own statements. The dude is a simp, man. First off, you didn't even have to say nothing. You said she didn't make a statement specifically, so why do you need to come on and say something? It's because they sent you out there, you cornball. They sent you out there to say that stuff. And you're not even, you can't even, this is how I know you're just big for nothing. You got all these muscles and you're not even a man. You got to go to your woman all the time and see what she said. Oh, I believe women. I believe what a woman says out of her mouth. So if you believe it, then why all of a sudden you denying it? That's that simp talk. I believe everything a woman say out her mouth. I don't believe anything people say out their mouth until I verify it. So why are you even speaking? Talking about some, I had to check on my woman, and my wife said, well, she didn't say nothing about it, so why should you? And I listened to my wife. So actually you did listen to your wife, because now you're out here making statements. And you just vociferously I didn't experience that at all. That's the same bullcrap they try to say about America. Like, oh, it's just a melting pot. We have so much diversity here. I don't know what they're talking when they try to deny white supremacy. It's such a melting pot here. I don't know what they're talking about. We had a black president. How can white supremacy, how can there be racism in America? Come on, guys. We got an Asian yang gag. We got them trying to run for president. Come on, guys. We got a black woman allegedly running for presidency. Well, she's out now because we knocked her out. But they try to use these same excuses of diversity to try to act like racism and white supremacy doesn't exist. And they send their coon boys out just like him to do this. So, ain't nobody checking for him. And what's crazy is now you got online the black feminists, the black bed wenches out here. Now they're online trying to use Terry Crews to throw all black men under the bus. It was some chick who on Twitter who wrote, oh, say it with me, guys. Black men are the white people of black people. No. Because black men were calling out Terry Crews. When Terry Crews got his balls fondled by that Jewish man that didn't do nothing, it was black men who called him out for being suspect. It was black men who called him out for not standing up for himself. It was black men who called him out for being a sellout and a coon boy. And when we were doing that, you had the same black feminists calling black men all types of names and derogatory comments towards us because we didn't want to back his sellout butt. We didn't want to back what he was doing. We didn't support him. We seen what he was and called out his cooning, his buck dancing, him being buck broken. We seen that and we called it out, and we were getting trashed by the same black feminists and these black bad wenches and white supremacist worshipers. But now, when the tables are flipped and he's coming out trying to deny racism, and black men is like, see, we told you the dude was a lame. We told you he was a coon. Now you got those same black feminists trying to flip the script and saying, oh, no, y'all, it's all black men. You can't have it both ways. We called him out and we got trashed for it. Now he's being exposed for what we called him out for, and you're trying to still use it against us. You can't do that. You're being exposed. So, you know, this is just a year. 2020 is like the year of people being exposed. 2020 is like the year of things being made clear. You know, 2020 vision, things being made clear and put out into the open. And recently there were some pictures posted of some new Nike hoodies that the company just dropped. And as you can see, they're just blatantly telling you what it is. Goddess of victory. And my question is, Muslims, how can you wear these clothing items? A brother on Twitter named Dower Man Returns, he posted the pics of the whole new Nike outfits, and he had this to say. Let me see if I can find it. He said, is it still not clear for you people? First, you said we are too extreme in saying Nike is haram or sinful. Now they are publicly and openly telling you Nike is the goddess of victory, and they are promoting it on their clothing too. He goes on to say, after this, if you still wear Nike, an item of clothing with the name of another god, or argue over it, then I'm so scared for you, man. Ya Allah, we seek refuge with you from doing shirk, which is polytheism, associating partners with Allah. We seek refuge with you whilst we are aware, and we seek your forgiveness for the shirk we did unknowingly. So, this is what brother, Dower Man Returns had to say about it. Now, whether you agree with it or not, let's just break this down so you can come to your own conclusion. Now, who is Nike? I'm going to read to you from this site, GreekGodsAndGoddesses.net, and give you pretty much the whole story. In Greek mythology, Nike was the goddess of speed, strength, and victory, also known as winged goddess. Nike is most often pictured as having wings. She was the child of Pallas and Styx. In most beliefs, Styx is the name of the river that separates planet Earth from the gates of hell. The river Styx was named for Nike's grandfather, Tethys. Nike and her three sisters, Zelus, B.I.C., and that's crazy, they're using B.I.C. because B.I.C. is another name for the shaving product, and B.I.C. is a name for force, and the other sister named Kralas. And it's crazy that she has three sisters and the name is B.I.C., and men use B.I.C. to shave off their beards and looking feminine. So it's crazy. But anyway, they were brought by Styx to Zeus to assist him in the great Titan battle, whose ultimate goal was to gain control of Mount Olympus. Ancient Greeks worshipped Nike because they believed she could make them never to die, and was able to grant to humans strength and the speed needed to be victorious in any task they undertook. Although Pluto is no longer considered a planet by some planetary experts, in 2013, Styx was recognized as a moon of Pluto. Nike allied herself with the chief Greek god Zeus during the great Titanomachy conflict. During this event, she functioned as his chief charioteer. Nike's reward for doing this was that Zeus promised to keep her near him and to protect her forever. She is often seen seated beside Zeus on Mount Olympus. In Roman mythology, Nike was known as Victoria. Victoria's Secret. After Greece fell to the Roman Empire, she appears with Zeus on statues in places such as the Temple of Zeus in Attica and on the west portico of the Temple of Athena in Athens. When Nike appeared alone, she always had wings and sported a palm branch in her right hand. If she was seen with another god, Nike was always wingless. According to many accounts, Nike is portrayed without wings in Athens so that she could never fly away from their city. A sculpture dating back to 424 to 2003 BC known as Nike of Samothrace was unearthed in 1863, may be seen at the Louvre Museum in Paris. The oldest Nike sculpture known to exist believed to date back to 550 BCE and is located on the Greek island of Delos. Most sculptures of Nike were made from the core of a piece of wood encased in ivory and gold. One is estimated to be 29 feet tall. Many sculptures of Zeus and or Athena hold a smaller Nike in their right hand. So, it just goes on to talk about, Nike. And it gives you some other breakdown in here in this article too. It says how Nike relates to the modern world. Regardless of whether it is 2017 or 250 BC, mankind has equated success and triumph with being regarded as number one in some pursuit, whether it be in sport or in our career. Since 1928, the Olympics medal has sported Nike on the obverse side, bearing her wreath of victory and the shield upon which the victor's name is inscribed. A portion of the hood ornament on all Rolls-Royce vehicles includes a depiction of Nike. Honda motorcycles use a symbol of Nike as part of the company's logo. Nike has also been the Nike symbol has also been used in America's anti-aircraft missile. You can look up Project Nike. So they're breaking down how a lot of these different companies, and even in the Olympics, they use the goddess Nike. And that's a lot of these companies participate in this polytheism and shirk to get their money up. It's just a part of the whole sun worshiping and goddess worshiping thing that a lot of these corporations do. So the goddess Nike was, like I said, was worshiped in order to bring victory. And they say if you worship her properly, you wouldn't die in battle. You could live forever. The Nike swoosh itself represents the wings of this goddess. And the word swoosh represents the goddess because it represents the sound of speed, movement, power, and motivation. So you're just breaking this down so you can have a clear understanding of what you're doing as a Muslim when you're wearing these products. Because as a Muslim, we say there's no God but Allah. And anything worship other than Allah is a shaitan, is a devil. Even when you say, oh, well, I'm not worshiping it, we'll get to that. But anything worship other than Allah is a shaitan, is a devil. And that's in Surah chapter 36, verse 60 of the Quran. So to me, it was clear. I stopped wearing Nike. I asked myself common sense questions. Okay, Nike is a shaitan. Okay. So would I wear shoes that had the name Iblis or the name devil or the name Satan or the name Lucifer on the side of the shoe or on the clothing? Would you as a Muslim do that? I found myself, before choosing not to wear them anymore, I would find myself making excuses. Just like you see other Muslims out here making excuses. Even some scholars come out and say, hey, it's okay to wear Nike. But then you have others who say it's not. When I was making my excuses to myself, the excuse I made was, hey, I know Allah is one and he's the only true God. I don't believe Nike is a God. So it's fine for me to wear it and give money for these shoes because of my intention. But that still didn't sit well with me. Because I went back to the name, like I said, I went back to that thought of, okay, so what if the name Satan was on my shoe? I would still wear them because I have a good intention. Nike is just a devil. Don't, devils exist? I believe devils exist, whether they in their human form or in their spiritual form. So why am I giving money to wear shoes or clothing with the name of Satan on them? I believe Satan exists, and this is the excuse I saw people use under his post. One brother, M.A.B.I.A, said, Nike was originally a company for running shoes. Nike is Latin for goddess of victory, so he admits it. He says, So he admits it. He says Nike was originally a company for running shoes. Nike is Latin for a goddess of victory. I know Allah is the one and the only God. I do not believe in the meaning behind Nike. Allah knows my intentions. I don't see the issue with wearing it. So he's using the same excuse that I made. He also went on to say, I walk with the Nike jumper because I like quality of the clothing and material. Allah knows I'm not walking to show off the stupid meaning behind the 4-letter brand. Okay. So that's what he had to say about that. But that's the same type of excuses I used to use. To which I responded to another thought along the same vein of having the name Satan on your clothing. I asked under that post, okay, so would you wear the clothing that had Alat or Al-Uzza or Hubal on them? Because these are the names of the pagan gods during the prophet's time that the Arabs used to worship. So would you wear clothing that had these names on them? And Muslims are going to say, they're going to say no. So they would praise many of these gods as well to give them victories in battle. They would bring their statues with them to the battlefield and hold them high. So would you wear them? If the company made great clothing, as you say, would you wear them to the masjid and pray in them? These are the types of questions I asked myself, and I couldn't accept wearing it. I asked this question on Twitter, and it seems like all the Muslims are scared to answer because they know they would say no, and therefore they know they would be left with no excuse. Also, that excuse is really a cop-out because some things you do are sins even if you do have a good intention. Like, for instance, that's like me saying Christmas rolls around and we're not supposed to imitate the celebrations of the non-Muslims. And I say, well, I really don't believe in Christmas. I know it was the birth of a pagan goddess and Jesus really wasn't born on this day. This is just the day they worship their pagan goddess in the winter solstice and they give out gifts during this time. So, but I don't believe in it. I'm just giving out gifts as a good intention for my family. So I really don't believe in it. Would you do that? No, that's a major sin to do that. And some scholars believe that's major disbelief. It would put you outside the fold of Islam to do that. So it wouldn't matter how good your intention was. You're doing something so sinful that it could make you not be a Muslim. So when you start doing things like this and trying to make excuses, you're just opening the door for practicing blatant disbelief and accepting it. You're slowly cracking that door open. And this is how I know many will see the Dajjal, the Antichrist, and it makes the same type of excuses for him. Oh yeah, he got kafir written in his forehead, but you don't know what's in his heart. He has good intentions. And another thing, this making excuses stuff to me about wearing Nike, that seems to come from the mindset of these Saudi Salafis. Don't get me wrong. You are to follow the Salaf. You are to be a Salafi. You're supposed to follow the pious predecessors. But there's a difference between a sincere Salafi, a Sunni, and a Saudi Salafi. A sincere Salafi actually sincerely believes in Tawheed Hakimiyya, the rulership of Allah, and not just pay it lip service. A Saudi Salafi tries to slide and hide Tawheed Hakimiyya and make excuses why things like participating in voting in a democracy are fine, or why the KSA regime is really a true Islamic regime and you need to bow down to them, even though their leaders do blatant acts that could be considered major disbelief. But these Saudi Salafis, they quote unquote worship the Saudi regime. And by worship, what I mean is they constantly make excuses for their blatant acts of disbelief. And these people will even fight and kill for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They will even snitch on you for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. You got Muslims out here in America doing that stuff all the time. So a lot of these excuses mentally, a lot of this excuse mentality about wearing Nike is from that energy. When you start making excuses for not really following Tawheed Hakimiyya, then the rest of the Tawheed start to fall apart. And they start to fall apart in your Iman. And, you know, wearing some clothing with another God's name on it, it becomes not really a big deal to you, because you really don't even believe in Tawheed like that no more, because it's falling apart in your mind and in your Iman and in your heart. But those who are sincere, in my opinion, wouldn't wear them because they understand Tawheed. And this is just my opinion. Not only did Nike show you that they represent this goddess on their clothing, they did a similar thing with the Kyrie Irving 6 capris. And we already know about Kyrie Irving and his occultic connections. If you don't, I did a video on it. Just search in my video where I talked about Kyrie Irving and his occultic connections. And, you know, Nike collabed with him, and they collabed with another company, and they made some shoes that were inspired by an ancient Egyptian god called Capri Ra. And this god represents the movement of the rising sun. And that's interesting because this Egyptian god is just another devil, another jinn. And it's interesting because the Prophet told us in an authentic hadith in the Bukhari and Muslim that it is forbidden to pray after Fajr prayer until the sun has risen above the horizon to the height of a spear. At the time of noon, well, he was mentioning the different times of where it's haram and sinful to pray. So it's forbidden to pray after Fajr prayer until the sun has risen above the horizon to the height of a spear. It's forbidden to pray at the time of noon when the sun is at its zenith. And it's forbidden to pray after the time of Asr until the sun is fully set. The Prophet told us that the sun rises and sets between the two horns of a devil, at which time the kuffar prostrate to it. This is the time where the people who worship the sun, that's when they worship the sun. So I thought that was an interesting side note, especially when this Egyptian god called Capri Ra represents the movement of the rising of the sun. So, you know, it's all correlating. So it's also no surprise that these shoes also have the Eye of Horus on them as well. So we see what Nike is into. Yet people still make excuses for them. They're blatantly putting it out there for you, though. I'll give you another example. Let's say, you know, you was in pagan Arabia, and you know how they had their gods sitting out there, and they would come worship them and put offerings in front of them. Let's say they had this goddess Nike out there, and at the base of the Nike statue, they had these nice, dope sandals. They were just beautiful sandals. And all you had to do was put some money in Nike's hands. You know, this statue got the hands sitting out there. All you got to do is put some money in the hands of Nike, and you could take a pair of these raw, dope sandals for yourself. And you could put them on and have it for yourself. But all you got to do is give an offering to Nike. You as a Muslim living in pagan Arabia, you're going to do that? You're going to let Umar al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, see you putting money in the hand of a statue of Nike and taking the sandals and putting them on. And you think Umar al-Khattab ain't going to say nothing about that? That just makes sense to you in your mind? Even though they got sandals in the marketplace that are just as good, you're going to say, well, I love the quality of these Nikes. I really don't believe in Nike, but I mean, shoot, the quality of these Nikes, I like them better. Stop it. You're obsessed with Nike. That's the truth. And you need to really question yourself. You would not do that if you were in pagan Arabia during that time and Umar al-Khattab is watching you and you go over there and buy some and put some offering into the hands of a statue of Nike just to get those sandals. You would not do that. So why are you doing it now? And you know, people try other excuses too. This is how you know people have no type of real stance on why they're wearing it. What I notice is when you call people out and they are backed into a corner, they will go to extremes to try to justify what they know they probably shouldn't even be doing. I've heard people go so far as to say, well, this country's named after gods or goddesses, so we shouldn't move there, huh? Listen, some things you have power over for now. Some things you don't have power over yet. And you work to get that power. Right now, you have the power of choice of what shoes you want to buy. Don't start trying to go extreme on the other end to justify what you're doing. Right now, you have the power of choice of what shoes to buy, what company you want to buy them from. So stop it with that. You know, and about these other countries being named after gods. Look, when the world gets fed up with white supremacy and we can replace it and with a system of justice, then we could change the names of these countries. So therefore, what are you doing to help us build power to replace the system of white supremacy and destroy it? Since you want to talk about these countries, then what are you doing? Okay, then, because you love the system. So stop that. And another thing, let's not forget. Another thing about Nike, let's not forget that some years ago, like a while ago, they got in trouble and called out by the Muslim community because they were putting Allah on their shoes. They were putting the name of Allah on the bottom of their shoes and on the side of their shoes. And they were getting called out about that. But again, people still make excuses for them. Oh, it don't look like Allah when you really look up close on it. They were trying to be slick. And then when they got called out, they didn't release the shoes. But then a few little time passed and they did actually release a few pair of the shoes. And they got called out again and then they just scrapped the whole idea. So Nike is proving to you time and time again what they are about. But you still want to support them. I can't do it. That's why I just stopped wearing it. I couldn't agree with that. And so if you agree with my opinion, because you have people who come up with another excuse, well, I have all this Nike material, so what should I do with it? Okay, look, if you have all this Nike material, what you do is you wear your material until it wears out. When your material gets old, you throw it out and you don't buy no more new Nike material. That's what you do. That's what I did. I had some Nike shorts. I had a few pair of Nike shoes. And I just wore them until they got worn out. And then when they were worn out, I threw them out. I haven't bought Nike pretty much dating over a decade. And if you're a poor person and you're getting shoes donated to you and they're Nike, accept them. Don't try to throw them out because beggars can't be choosers. That's that, you know what I'm saying? You don't have no choice over that. You need some shoes. They're offering you some shoes. Take them. That's not going to be on you. But if you're a person out there who has wealth or money or a job and you're going out purposely and buying Nike, I just can't agree with that, man. But thank you for tuning in to another episode, another broadcast of Black and Muslim in America. I hope this was informative. If you liked it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. All that good stuff. And until next time, Peace and assalamu alaikum.